Good morning. It's Thursday, and I'm going to bring on Sean. Hi, Sean.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Yeah, we're doing good. Hi, chat. George is going to be a little bit late today, but he'll pop in. I'll be watching for him. And you guys, we got a really good guest coming on. We got George Papadopoulos, and he's going to talk about how he was a deep state target in the 2016 election and the first one to plead guilty and go to prison for it. But he's going to come on about 9:30. So Sean and I are going to hold everything down here for a while, but we'll do all right, won't we, Sean?
We're going to try to. We're going to die trying. We're going to die trying, as they say, right?
We always do all right. I'll open up with a quick prayer, and then we got a couple of clips to go through and stuff. So let's see. This one is careful planning puts you ahead in the long run. Hurry and scurry puts you further behind. And that's Proverbs 21:5. So we all think we know what's right for us, but God our Father truly knows what is best. Patience will perfect and prepare us for the work ahead. So everybody has to have patience because everybody's impatient right now. Yes, amen on that one. Amen. That's for sure. But that with everything going on, everybody's really squirrely lately, you know?
Yeah.
Did you see Bongino this morning on Fox News?
I just, when I was waiting for you, I saw a little bit of it. He was on Fox and Friends this morning, it looks like, right?
Yeah. He said the one thing that stuck was, remember last week we were talking about how everybody was saying, well, is he really about Epstein? He came right out and said that from what he has seen, that Epstein really did kill himself from what he's seen. And they do have a video, and there was nobody coming out. There was nobody seen in the cell. And that right now they're working on enhancing it, and they're going to release that video for everybody to see it.
But I think he said the file. Didn't he say the file again? I've seen the Epstein files, and it says so. I mean, obviously, maybe the file just doesn't have he killed himself or he didn't kill himself in there, right? So
yeah.
So who knows? But it's I guess until more stuff comes out, you know, I'm more concerned with the deepness of the whole Epstein file, not so much about if he killed himself or not, because I think somebody killed him, but I'm more interested in all these people that are involved and stuff like that. These higher ups type of people, the more powerful people. That's what I like to see.
Yeah, you talk about like all the sex stuff, who was involved with the trafficking. I mean, the passenger lists on his plane, those have been floating around for years, you know. So that's not such a big deal. But like, did you ever see when all that was going down that somebody flew a remote drone into Epstein Island?
I heard about
it. Yeah, I remember seeing that. And like they had all the mattresses covered in plastic. And the rooms where some of them were really bare. It was just, I mean, you could tell what they were doing in there by what was in the rooms and stuff. But I remember that. So there's a lot of truth to it. But then I heard too, and I don't know how true it is, but that they like filled in the tunnels over there real quick when the FBI was going through there and stuff. Yeah. So, that's the kind of stuff I want to know. I don't, as far as the names, we all pretty much got an idea on who it is just by the passenger plane logs that were going out, but I don't know. The kids part is what that just breaks your heart, though.
Well, what's weird is you look at these two paintings. I think they were in his New York place, not in the island. The one with Bill Clinton in the blue dress, and the other one, which is pretty interesting, was the one with George Bush.
Yeah,
the paper airplane and the building. I mean, what's he saying that he may know, or what's he like? That's just a weird painting, right? They say art is to express yourself, right? So maybe what's the expression in that painting that someone knows?
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's coded because everything in that picture relates to something that happened with that person.
Yeah.
Because isn't there like on Bush's? Isn't there like a building knocked down in front of them or something? There's something. Yeah. There's something else in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Clinton photo is you probably see that more, right? I guess that's Monica's dress. I guess that's Monica's blue dress he's in.
Yeah.
But Yeah, but even the trove of evidence that they taken out of there when they said like in the big safes that he had. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know if we're ever going to see it.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. So
There's such powerful people involved that there's probably no lengths that they would go to hide it. I mean, look at the body trail behind Clinton. They hide everything.
yeah,
I mean, how could Vince Foster, shoot himself in the park like that? And the one guy supposedly shot himself and then was hung too. How do you shoot yourself and then hang?
that's talent. That's some talent, right? To do that. I mean, matter of fact, there was a Sean Lucas that got killed in that.
Oh yeah, I remember you sent me that thing. That was, it was like
yeah. I heard Sean Lucas. Oh my gosh, but it wasn't me.
Yeah, well, I would hope it wouldn't be you involved in that with it, all that shit in Mena, Arkansas. The people were really wicked. I mean, there was even that one lady that was pregnant by Bill Clinton, and supposedly she shot herself too, in her yard. I mean, that's all such BS. But the Clintons are bad. They're bad people.
You don't want to piss off Hillary, that's for sure.
No, they're probably watching what we're talking about right now too. You better be careful out your car window if you might have somebody sneak up on you.
Yep. Yeah. Going back to Hillary, the best thing I keep on saying was when Ed hit her with that question about about wiping off the server. She was like, "Oh, with a cloth." That was great. She didn't know what to say. She must have been so pissed off at Ed when he asked that.
That was the best moment. I remember I was living in Traverse City still when that happened, and I remember just going, ah! And I was clapping and everything when that happened because it was like, that was awesome, that he did that, because that was an ambush question on her, and he did it so sweetly too. Did you wipe that off? You mean like with a cloth? Oh God, she's horrid.
I think that was one of the last unscripted questions that she actually took. She was probably like, I'm not going to have this happen to me again.
Yeah, probably. Some of her staff probably really got an earful by the time she got back to her office. I'll tell you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. How'd you let that happen to me?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was funny though. What do you want to go with first? Do you want to go with Cash Patel or Project Veritas?
Whatever one you pull up.
Okay, we'll go with Cash because I like Cash. Okay.
Who doesn't like Cash? Everybody likes a little cash.
I like both Cash. I like Cash the person, and I like the money too.
Certainly, people have had questions about January 6th and whether or not there were FBI sources, not agent sources, on the ground during January 6th. And I told you I would get you the definitive answer to that, and we have. And we are in the process, again, of working with our partners to divulge that information, and it is coming. And I will tell you this. The answer to that question will surprise and shock people because of what past FBI leaders have said about it.
Former FBI Director Chris Wray eventually admitted to Congress there were 26 FBI confidential human sources in around the Capitol January 6th, but not actual agents. Can you say that's true? Are there more than that? What you're learning from that?
I can say that is definitely a piece of the truth. Why it took a ton of time and questioning in Congress for the director to get that point is what I'm trying to eliminate from the FBI. If Congress asks you a question under oath, whether or not there were sources in around January 6th at the Capitol, you as the director of the FBI need to know that and not deflect and give a DC answer. You have to be prepared for that, and that's the answer we're giving. That's the answer Chris Wray should have given.
And eventually everybody's going to know the whole picture.
Yeah, because the American people deserve that. And look, no one's more frustrated than me. Remember, I was chief of staff of the Department of Defense on January 6th. We said that we were ready, and the president had previously authorized the National Guard to be there days in advance. I spent 2 years, a small fortune, grand juries, to testify to the truth. And what happens now, years later? We were right. Bowser and Pelosi rejected that offer, and instead of figuring out how to prevent security lapses like that ever again, the American public spent tens of millions of dollars and countless hours on TV listening to conspiracy theories because those in positions of leadership failed to tell the American public the truth.
A lot of good stuff to unpack there, right?
Mm-hmm. You start.
Well, I think, he keeps on saying that they found more information on a lot of this. well, there's two different things that they're really picking out now is this Crossfire Hurricane and actually January 6th. So obviously that clip he was talking about January 6th.
Mhm.
So I think the American people really deserve to know. I think obviously we all know a lot of it was a setup. We all know a lot of it was a setup with informants or paid agents. I mean, talk about Ray Epps, right? I'd like to find out about him. I mean, that guy, if he wasn't whatever you call it, informant, paid, whatever they want to say he is, he incited a lot of stuff, and he incited in the interest of from the deep state, without a doubt.
Oh
And
my God.
that's
Yeah. I believe he definitely was an asset for the government.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt. I mean, because they tried to cover him up. Anytime anybody questioned anything about him, it was like they poo-pooed it, and look at all the video that was out of him, telling everybody to rush the doors and do all this stuff. But the other thing that interests me about Kash Patel was the pipe bomber. Now he mentioned something about being two of them.
Yes,
Now,
Bongino even said that too, I believe too.
Yeah, and they said they're close. He mentioned 3 cases this morning, and he said they're close to closing in on one of them. But then he mentioned the pipe bomber, so it's not the pipe bomber one, but it was the pipe bomber, the cocaine in the White House, and I can't remember what the third one was. I just had a brain fart.
Well, they're talking about Crossfire Hurricane again. They got a lot of stuff on that, and I think, and that's what George was part of, right? The Crossfire Hurricane.
Yeah, that's why
interesting to get his take.
So well. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to get his take on that too. But yeah, it's there's been a lot of stuff that's been slow walked, obviously, with these guys. But I don't know if it's really slow walked. I think there's years of investigations that they're looking through, and I think that does take time. I know a lot of people are getting a little impatient with what's going on with our Justice Department, versus the previous Justice Department, where they start locking up people, I think 30 days into their tenure, right? But I think they're doing it right. They got to go through a lot of evidence, and I think when they do bring something, I think a lot of these charges are going to stick.
Yeah, well, Bongino even made the remark about like what you just said, that like when they did it before, look what happened with Andrew McCabe. He ended up getting his pension and getting his benefits and everything because they didn't do it right. And that if they really want to get these people and actually be able to prosecute them, they have to have everything, all their ducks in a row, or we're going to end up with the same thing and people are going to walk. And then you talk about people will give up, people will just stop voting. And I don't know, I would be really despondent, if nobody goes to jail, because but things take time. And I understand that we're only a couple months. Well, not a couple, we're several months in, if we get to a year and nothing's going on, that's when I'll really start to worry.
Yeah, you got to give it a little bit of time. I mean, I know a lot of people are impatient with it, and you started out with the prayer, and it all goes back to patience, right? And what's the old saying? Patience is a virtue. But I think part of the challenge with the patience is because we lived through 4 years of Biden with the auto pen and all that other BS, right? And a lot of these people getting prosecuted for grandmothers getting prosecuted for walking into the Capitol on January 6th and to an open door, right? Not that they broke in, they walked right past guards saying hello, and as they walked into the Capitol. So I think a lot of people are frustrated. I think that's where the lack of patience is, but we still got to be patient. And like you said, if it's a year down the road we still have this, then we have a problem.
That's what I would think, because a year is way more than a long enough time to get everything together. I don't care if you're working on videos, files, whatever. They got AI now. They can run things through AI and get done quicker,
Yep,
but
absolutely.
That was just my opinion on that. But I don't know. It's interesting to see how corrupt everything really is. And when you were younger, I don't know if you feel this way, but like when I was younger, I would think a lot of them could do no wrong and everything. And then when I started getting into politics more, like in my 20s, and started reading stuff like in the 80s with the Franklin group about in the pages in Congress and stuff, I was like, what a bunch of sick people, and then then the Clintons came in, and that's when everything they were so sloppy with the things that they did, that it led a trail everywhere. but then Epstein, and then you see where Giselle Maxwell, her father was, MI5, and
Oh, these
England.
people, it's all connected. Yeah, that's all connected. It's funny.
Yeah. Well, just like the CIA running drugs, who would have ever thought that that's something they would do? But then Iran Contra comes up,
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of things that we don't know about our government, and and it's all funded by our taxpayer dollars. And it's you wonder, hopefully with this Doge, hopefully they find a lot of stuff that they that they make changes for in the future that actually protects our tax dollars and starts giving them back to us. Speaking of, it looks like Elon's done now with Doge, right? Did you see that? He's done that. I don't know if he can come back. I don't know if that's a certain thing because it's only amount of time or something, being a temporary employee or something. But
it's 130 days a year that he's able to do it. I heard that. So, maybe he'll be back next year. You'll have midterms coming up. There'll be another budget, but they have to make those cuts. They really do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of that, let's go into the other one.
Okay.
Because we're going to show this one.
The question for me is how corrupt is the DNC if so many people knew, or few people knew about Biden? Well, the president of the United States.
I mean, I think the fact of the matter is the DNC is always going to be like a campaign arm of the president, ultimately. The bigger issue was the inner circle that was around Biden. That's it.
And I can't stress you enough.
Joe Biden's chief of staff. Had an enormous amount of power.
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden's chief of staff.
That was an open secret at the level. I would avoid him. He was scary.
What was his name?
Anthony Papadopoulos.
I've never seen him.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
He's just like a shadowy, Wizard of Oz type figure. That's what made him so I knew how he looked, but the general public wouldn't know how this man looked. But he wielded an enormous amount of power, and I can't stress to you how much power he had at the White House.
Now there's two things there though, which is pretty cool. It looks like the Project Veritas name is back, right, for O'Keefe, right? But that's big. Maybe this was part of the auto pen control on that side.
You better believe it. If they were selling access to that auto pen, and who like that Burnell, I've never heard of him.
No,
that was a new name to me, and I was like, wow, But there's got to be something to it, and then they get David Hogg in there. I mean, how stupid is he? And who is he dealing with that's from Project Veritas that they would even talk like that at a table?
It's amazing how they get people to talk and spill the beans. They have a gift. All those people, they really do.
You wonder if they're if David Hogg is lighting the loafers and he thought he was on a date or something, so he was trying to impress the other guy.
That's a lot of times that's what it is. And you got to wonder. I don't know. You got to wonder sometimes if some of the stuff is a little far fetched, if they're trying to be a little more over impressive, or if it's really 100%.
I believe this one is 100% because Jill Biden was sitting in the cabinet meetings, and if that is her staff member, he was probably directing her and telling her whatever to say. And then you look at that Burnell guy, then who's telling him? Is it the deep state? Is it the military industrial complex? Is it
Obama?
Yeah.
Right? Is it Barack?
Yeah. It could be, because remember when he did say that in that one interview that if he had his way for a third term, he'd have an earpiece in and tell people what to say.
Remember that? Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. That would be his ideal third term. So I think he got his ideal third term.
Well, all they were looking for was a meat puppet, and they had one with Biden. I mean,
Absolutely they did.
But how awful is Jill Biden to trot him out like that, knowing that he's got advanced cancer, he's got dementia, He's got physical problems with his bearing and everything. And yet she was still dragging him out and making him do things and talk. And then like on The View, that one last interview they did, he couldn't even talk and she would jump in for him. So, she could have been doing the deep state, honest to God, could have been running the whole country that 4 years. And that's why everything went to shit.
A lot of things to repair, and for Trump. Not only is he trying to fix things, but he's trying to repair all this stuff that was we went down a shithole, so to say, with this country in 4 years, big time.
It was depressing. I mean, every day you'd get up and look at the news, and it was worse and worse and worse. And now things are bad. They're getting better. But like with all this Palestinian stuff and Gaza and everything and all these college students, it's making things, rough. But that's like more of a distraction off of the real stuff that's really going on. The more they talk about that, the less they talk about the Supreme Court. And look how compromised they are. Like Amy Coney Barrett. What did they got?
Big disappointment. Yeah.
Mike Davis would have been better.
Mike Davis would be great. Ted Cruz would have been great.
Yeah.
I think Ted Cruz, but he doesn't want to do that.
No, he's a constitutional lawyer too, so you think he would have wanted to, but I don't know. Maybe being a senator and a congressman is more lucrative than working on the Supreme Court.
I'm sure it is.
Well, yeah. He used to work on Wall Street and stuff, so you wonder how much money is involved in his decision making. But then they're like Schiff too. That's the one.
I don't have him.
I know you don't.
I didn't bring him with me.
I know. I don't know. That guy, he really deserves to go to jail. Bad.
I'll tell you, nothing would be surprising with him. If you found out he was on Epstein Island every weekend, would that be surprising to you? Not at all. Not at all. He's a strange person. But getting back, you mentioned about the courts. I mean, look at this this panel right now with the tariffs. Right? They voted against Trump on this. The Supreme Court's got to step in and do something with these rogue judges. Yeah. And these judges are people that weren't elected, right? And they're subverting what the elected what the people elected, out there in the government, and they're subverting it. Oh, look who's here!
Here I come to save the day. Shh.
Look at you! You just popped up. You scared me there.
Watch
George.
this. Here, right.
He was sitting there waving his arms like I didn't see him, but I was waiting for him to put your earpiece in. I saw you.
There you go. How's that?
I like it when you do that. It's hilarious. You got to get back up.
I'm talking. I got a guy walking around in front of me that would look like, I don't know where he's going, but I'm looking to try and figure it out. And all of a sudden George pops up, scared the hell out of him. Now he's gone. Where'd he go?
I don't know. He probably unplugged himself there trying to fix his chair back up. I don't know.
He's probably cursing up a storm right now.
Yeah, I bet. I know. I'm waiting for Papadopoulos. I haven't seen him here, but he's got 4 more minutes yet.
Maybe Stephen Halper's talking to him.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
I remember that guy. Yeah, that was terrible what happened to Papadopoulos, though. Here he comes again.
Okay, I'm back.
George, are you in or are you out? Let's either in or out. Stop this back and forth shit.
It depends about when you call. What in and out you're talking about.
There he goes again, Tricks.
Yeah. I know. It gets off the rails most of the time when he's on here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Fridays really get off the rails, though, but I like Fridays.
Yeah, wait for tomorrow.
The Trump socks?
Yeah, the Trump puppet. It's a Trump puppet.
Yeah,
it's a Trump puppet? Oh, okay.
So how's everybody in the chat?
Wait. You said Trump puppet. That's a lot different than the Biden puppet that we had for 4
years. The Biden puppet wouldn't move.
Yeah. Biden puppet was actually Biden. Trump puppet is actually a puppet.
Yeah, Biden was a meat.
Let me tell you something. There's going to be so much shit hitting the fan with that one, boy. Let me tell you.
Biden puppet was actually Biden. Trump puppet is actually... What the heck? I heard my voice.
Yeah, no, I had my phone. I'm looking at the chat. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning.
I know I haven't been able to watch the chat because it's just
Yeah,
been
I know
really fun, so I've been trying to watch.
Say right
stuff.
away. Say, loves Christ, says he's Italian. He can't help himself. That's me. You're right. It's in the blood.
It's in
With
the
what?
Italian bloodstream.
No,
Oh.
she just said that.
I know what you're talking about. That's why. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Well, go ahead, George. Sean and I have been talking. You got something you want to
Oh
say?
yeah. Well, I'm glad George Papadopoulos is coming. I know him for a long time, and he has a very, very powerful and a strong wife, which helped him when he was getting incarcerated with all the bullshit that he was going through about this stuff with Russia. They were trying to bring him in so he could rat out on President Trump. But he's very knowledgeable about a lot of stuff. He's very good, and he has a couple of books out, and he really, really knows his stuff. I mean, he'll tell us stuff that he'll surprise us with a lot of information.
Well, I got a video clip. Let me play
Yeah,
this.
put that on. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and this kind of explains it.
They give it to their lawyer before they go back to the United States. But what happens when I get back to the United States, Maria? I'm intercepted by about 8 FBI agents. They're all rummaging through my luggage, looking for money. They don't know what to do with me at that point because the entire setup failed. And it really goes to the heart of how this entire scandal was not part of a spontaneous investigation the way that the mainstream media wanted you to believe. It was all predetermined, it was all fabricated, and it was all part of an entire plan by the Obama administration to subvert our democratic process.
And I apologize for the volume on that. That was the best I could do with it. But that was an older clip, but that was like right to the point.
Yeah, remember they get like $10,000 it was.
Yeah,
and they thought they thought he'd bring it back into the country, and they were going to nail him for something on that, whatever. And
well, they wanted
great that
they
he
want,
left it in Europe.
Well, they want to get it. They want to get him on something. That's the thing. The whole thing is they were trying to get a lot of the people that were loyal to Trump to see if they would turn on him, and to get any information they can, and especially what Obama turned around and told Trump when they had that meeting in the Oval Office because Trump became as president and he was leaving. He told him the person you have to watch out for is
Flynn.
General Flynn, and he said that for a simple reason is he knew Obama knew the amount of information that Flynn had on Obama, on Obama himself and the whole administration. And as he was going around campaigning for President Trump, he was getting a lot of information from NSA about I shouldn't say NSA because they were still part of the Obama administration, but from reliable sources about what was going on and everything else about what they were planning to do to take down President Trump. The whole plan was, remember that chart we did with the 16-year plan that the Obama administration and Hillary were planning to take down this government. And as remember when Trayvon was on, he turned around and said, they've been trying to start this crap since the late 1800s. I mean, how they try and they're still doing it. I mean, they don't want to lose the power. That's why they want to get, and the reason why they did it then is because when all the schools were done in the old, what happened?
I'm going to bring George on.
Cool. Sorry.
Okay. So we're bringing on George Papadopoulos. Hi. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Hey, George. How are you?
It's good to be with everyone.
Hey, good looking there. What's going on?
I decided to join the good looking club this morning.
Pretty good. How's it going, George? Everything fine?
Everything's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. It means a lot to me and our people here. And especially now with all the bullshit with Russia and stuff. I think you're very knowledgeable on a lot of stuff. So if you'd like to talk about it, it'd be good.
Yeah, sure. No, of course. I'm happy to talk about every issue. This is what it's all about. It's about being with the grassroots. It's about being with people who have been there with me from the very beginning, like you, George. We obviously go way back before so many people even understood so much about not only my story, but what was happening to President Trump, to this country, the lawfare, the various judicial coups that are going on right now in America, the rhinos. I mean, so you've been there from the beginning. So it's a pleasure of mine to be on, and I'm happy to answer any questions everybody has.
Well, before you came on, what we did, I showed a clip from when you were on Maria Bartiromo, and you went into about how it was all a setup and everything. I don't know if you want to like just speak a little bit about that and then go into like your book or whatever you would like to do.
Sure. So we're still unfortunately living the situation of back then. Nothing's really changed, and that's how really deep and scary this whole deep state operation against President Trump, his campaign, and the American people really is. You have people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who are leading the FBI right now. They literally became infamous by looking into the contents of my story, General Flynn, Russiagate, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, all of these things. If you look back, when Dan Bongino was just launching his podcast, I was one of his biggest interviews he did back then. I think this was 2019, where he would say Papa D is the key. He's the guy that has the goods on Hillary and all this kind of stuff. And then Kash Patel, of course, who was working with Devin Nunes as a staffer, he then becomes like the head guy researching Russiagate. He helps expose some parts of it, and then he continues to move up the ladder. But what happened once these two guys actually got into power? Nothing. So what does that really tell you? I should say nothing so far. We haven't seen any arrests. We haven't seen any indictments. We haven't seen anything really going on. What does that tell you? That tells you that there's an entrenched bureaucracy in America that no matter how willing or able or committed you are when you're on the outside, if you're not President Trump or somebody like President Trump who's not beholden to these type of interests or needs the job, you're probably not going to go in there and ruffle too many feathers. So to just be quite frank, I'm a little disappointed to see that the evidence is out there. I've testified under oath to Congress. Other people have testified under oath to Congress about this stuff. President Trump has declassified all of these files. The roadmap is there, but they're not taking it to the next step. So that's something that I think a lot of people, including your viewers and people down in Florida around the country, are really disappointed about right now.
Definitely very disappointed. But do you think, with your opinion from what you know, that the entrenchment will ever end? Or do you think it's going to be the deep state and whoever, like the military industrial complex or big pharma or whatever, because they're all together now, is going to be able to keep a tamp on everything and just keep it so it's status quo?
Yeah, look, I think the moment that they tried to really, kill President Trump two times, I think is the moment that the gloves came off from President Trump's perspective. And that's something that I think you can never go back. Like when somebody tries to assassinate a president, which I think this was an operation to kill the president. I mean, I think it involved a lot of parties, probably a lot of different countries, and a lot of money. He survived it by God's will and God.
God bless.
God bless. And that's exactly why I think the president has declassified the JFK files, the MLK files, the Russiagate files, and he's declassifying slowly but maturely. But what's happening, just like the first time around, they're thwarting him from inside. So I think at this point, it's going to take public hearings in Congress. It's going to take people like Mike Johnson, Jim Jordan, some others who are on there to bring in witnesses, including Dan Bongino, the head of the Secret Service, Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, the CIA Director Radcliffe, DNI Gabbard, and just hold them to account and ask them pertinent questions, exactly like you just did. Why is this stuff not coming out? Who's stonewalling it? What's the agenda? And what's the true story? And if they want to make fools of themselves in front of 75 to 80 million MAGA voters who put them in those positions of power, let them do it. I just don't think they will. But for whatever reason, I just don't think Congress has the will to really get these stories out there or to allow this type of transparency. That's a big problem. I think Congress really holds the key. And then the media, they're not asking the right kind of questions. They kind of, you get the JFK files, for example, right? It becomes a one-day news cycle. Then everybody forgets about it. No one wants to really dig deep into stuff that really exposes these interests, and that's a big problem. And I think the only way to prevent that from continuing is, like I just explained, use Congress, hold public hearings, and shows like yours, George.
Yeah. Well, I know General Flynn very well, and I know he's working behind the scenes. That because I spoke to him and stuff. He's helping a lot of them, but I don't know why they won't put him. I even wrote a letter to President Trump and endorsing to make him be the NSA director, because I think he would be the greatest asset to President Trump. I mean, as far as intelligence and everything else, nobody could top him. And he knows Obama was the one that was after you, him, this whole family, all the names that you mentioned, because of the threat that was to the whole cabal of President, of Obama, Hillary, and everything else. Because you notice for a fact they thought Hillary was going to win that election in 2016. They had no doubt in their mind, and a big surprise, which was the greatest thing. But as usual, Trump wasn't in politics, so he didn't see, but he was getting set up by everybody, because General Flynn was supposed to be his VP pick, and then all of a sudden they brought Pence in. So everything about the deep state, how much they had control, and Trump didn't realize. This time, he prepared himself. It was a great thing that the thing was stolen, as we know, for 2020, but it was the greatest thing because he prepared himself. Because he said to me, if he didn't get the votes he got in 2020, he wouldn't have ran. But because of the amount of votes that he got, that's why he decided to run for 2024. And he set himself and prepared himself for all those years. So it's just unbelievable. And he's a great chess player, as you know, George.
Yeah. Like General Flynn's, first and foremost, he's a friend of mine too. Known him many years. We've actually worked on films together that my wife Simona was a lead interviewer on the Tucker Carlson Network. All the President's Men. I don't know if you and your viewers have had a chance to see that incredible series, but I highly recommend. I highly recommend looking into it, because it really shows individual stories, not only just mine, but General Flynn, Roger Stone, Rudy Giuliani, Kash Patel's actually in there. I think it's his last big interview he actually gave while he was a private citizen before he became FBI director. And then, of course, we had Steve Bannon right before, literally the day before he went to prison.
Yeah.
So he was there. Simona did an incredible job as the interviewer for that. And General Flynn's right. I think President Trump did extremely well in the 2020 election. But what happened again? It's the same playbook. The deep state with the big tech companies and the media collude to suppress stories that affect narratives, and that affects how people process information and how they potentially vote. That's what the Hunter Biden laptop story was all about. So what I'm trying to say is, in 2016, when the CIA and the FBI, with these foreign governments that I lay out in my book, and if your viewers want to kind of get the A to Z of this entire situation, just check out the book, Deep State Target.
Yeah, it's a very good book. Excellent.
When they did what they did, and some people were prosecuted, you have people like Kevin Kleinsmith, who was the head FBI attorney at the he became convicted of a felony. You had Charles McGonigal, Peter Strzok's boss. He's currently sitting in prison on a 7-year bit. Some people were held accountable, but when people like Comey goes out publicly and laughs and basically calls for the assassination of President Trump, just like he did last week, and then the Secret Service goes and interviews him, and then he continues to incite this kind of violence and rhetoric. When Peter Strzok is getting $1 million from lawsuits against the DOJ because they showed some sort of text messages, you know what that made happen? That showed that these people are basically invincible, and they did it again in 2020. They worked again with the CIA to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. They fooled the American people, and then we had Joe Biden basically run this country on autopilot, and the country almost went to hell in a basket case. So This is what's going on.
Actually, George, auto pen, not autopilot.
That, well,
I got to correct you there. Sorry, I had to.
Sean, I like that, and that's just like one of the many scandals. If there's one thing that the Biden administration is going to be left with, or their legacy, is going to be not only war, economic failure, but just like the most dirty, political, scandalous administration I think in modern American history. I mean, this is just very bad news. And the only thing that happened, George and Sean and Trix, I would say, is that President Trump had that 4-year pause. It allowed the American people to see what they had with him,
yes,
and what the America First movement, and what they have without him and without the America First movement. Because at the end of the day, this is a movement.
Yeah.
I've been on this train since the summer of 2015, and I never looked back. I know many of you. I actually,
all of us three.
I know all of you have been there since the very beginning. So I think it's going to take this collective effort to get these type of stories out there, to just continue to press these members of Congress and the media to highlight what we're talking about here, because we're the people that follow this stuff for a living. We're the people that have vested interests from the very beginning to make sure that this movement continues. And I think as long as we continue to do this, and members of Congress do their job, and then the media relays what we're talking about here to a higher level, I think we'll be in an okay position.
I have to say one thing. I told everybody too that how powerful your wife was in supporting you. Plus, she has Neapolitan background blood, which is a very, very tough woman. We had some talks when we were together, so it was fun.
And they tried to honeypot you, right, George? And that, you have such a beautiful wife. You must have laughed at that.
Simone and I, we laugh about it to this day, because back then she didn't, she always says, I didn't know you back then, because I didn't know her. I met her in April 2017. So this was all this insanity was going on, obviously, during the 2016 campaign and administration. But they went after her too, and it's an incredible story because, like you said, George, she's from Italy. She just happens to kind of pass for potentially a Russian. And then they created this situation where they're saying,
I remember that story. Yeah.
You remember that story, George? I mean, she told it to you in person down in Florida. So we still laugh about it a little bit today, but then you got to understand that we can laugh about it. We see it as a joke, but they were trying to create something a lot more dangerous and murky, and to try and make basically a fake story and a narrative around us and the president. So everything, whether you ever ate Russian salad, or you had a Russian friend, or you traveled to Russia, or anything, you were viewed as like an enemy of the state. It was like we're looking back at like the McCarthy era. That's what we were looking in that era. And why is that? What do I think the big picture is? Because a lot of people always ask me, George, what was the big picture? What was this all really about? I think it was a fake pretext to launch war against Russia. And that's exactly what happened anyway when they did what they did in 2020, when Biden was installed. And then right away, what was the situation? Bolster Ukraine, get this guy Zelensky in there, start poking the bear, talk about NATO, put the bio labs in there, which has all been, now, reported, even in the New York Times. And then basically just like pull Putin and the Russians to go make a move so that you could bring in NATO, so they could cause billions of dollars in damage, millions of lives lost, and to potentially cripple Russia. But what really happened at the end, Russia was not crippled. Ukraine's destroyed. We spent over $200 billion, and now President Trump is in there salvaging some sort of deal with minerals, trying to prevent our men and women in uniform from getting over there and having some sort of return for the American taxpayer, while creating a situation in which the Ukrainian people with the Russian people can live neighborly without killing one another for the next 50 years. That is what I think the big picture ultimately is, and why also I believe, and I'm going to land on this, that the Russiagate files, Crossfire Hurricane, and what we're talking about here is actually so important to get out so that we can have a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine and the United States and Russia. Because for as long as this stuff is hidden, as long as there's going to be questions about potential collusion or this or that, or what Papadopoulos or Trump or Flynn or whatever these guys might or might not have been doing, people in the media in this country, maybe even some conservatives, will always say, you know what, Russia's a shady thing. That was a weird story. I don't know if we can trust them. I have nothing to hide. That's why since day one, I always said declassify the files. President Trump has nothing to hide. That's why he declassified this. Once this stuff is declassified, once some people who created the hoax are put in prison potentially, then I think we could have a real peace agreement. And that's really the big picture that I think that this story can bring. Finally, the end to killing, peace. And that's something that I think when we look back in history, we can say that was how we contributed to ending this war.
Yeah, because they're still trying to poke him. They're still trying to poke Putin. You know,
Well,
hopefully
you
they
look
took
at-
the helicopter down, right?
You look at the collusion, though. You've got the mainstream media that's running with the psyop on it. Okay, then you have the military-industrial complex that's going to make big bucks off of anything you do with Russia like that. Then you have private contractors to be able to go in and rebuild Ukraine, so they're going to be making money off of that. Then you have big pharma with the biolabs, like you said, in Ukraine and everything. You put all that together, and the amount of profit that all these people are able to make off of this whole situation is in my belief is why that it even happened in the first place. And then who's going to say what's going to be the next country? You know, they put it on Russia because I remember when Hillary did the reset button, and I can't remember the Russian guy's name. And then this happened. So, you know, they rinse and repeat this. This is the same thing that happened in World War II. You know,
that was the ambassador.
Yeah, the ambassador.
Yeah.
You know, in the chat, George, they're asking you to come back. As soon as you go, they want you to come back.
George, you're very popular in the chat. I think George from Born to Ride is a little upset with that because he wants to be the popular George.
George, you jealous? George C.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, look how good looking George is. You know?
Yeah, and you're both on the bottom today too.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know how that happened.
But how's Simona, Georgie? Everything okay? Fine.
She cleaned me up a little bit, George. What can I say? You know, I dropped a couple pounds. I started shaving a little bit. She said, "I got to fix you up a little."
I can see that shirt's a very classy shirt. That I can tell you that much.
Yeah, you're looking good.
Well,
but you know, you're talking about some of this stuff. But Crossfire Hurricane. What's interesting is, Kash Patel said there's a trove of new evidence or whatever that they found that they were hiding, and he's been pushing it out to Congress for congressional oversight. And I believe he said that we're going to kind of be shocked at some of that too, right?
That was the main raid from Mar-a-Lago. They were looking for those papers. That was the big thing that when they crashed into Mar-a-Lago, because that's what they were looking for. Because that's great evidence about this whole corruption shit they had on.
Yeah.
Okay, George, I'm sorry.
No, George, you're 100% correct. That actually is what was going on. That's why they raided it, and President Trump actually got those files back. And I think it was, I don't know, what was it, last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago, they had this joint interview that they had with Bartiromo with Bongino and Patel. And you know, I thought there were some good parts to it. There were some, you know, little odd parts to it. You know, I don't know what was really going on, especially with the whole Epstein thing. I don't think many people bought that. I don't know if any of you bought it. I thought I still have more questions about that whole situation. He said that they're going to release some more files, but this stuff was declassified already over a month ago. This should have been out day one. I don't understand why even just continue to, you know, get this out there slowly and maturely. We don't really have time. The midterms are not that far off away.
That's right, correct. Yep, 100%.
Don't forget that Russiagate is what cost us the midterms in Trump's first administration.
Correct.
You had Mueller with the rhinos basically subverting Trump from actually using those people in Congress to enact his agenda willfully, right? They were just using Mueller as the excuse, even though they knew that Mueller was framing Trump and was framing the entire movement. Yeah. Now you can actually use the Russia stuff to help us keep Congress in this new midterms, because people one thing the American people, whether you're on the left, the center, and the right, that they will rally around is the underdog and victims. And if President Trump is viewed as a victim of an operation of the deep state, which he was, and this gets out there, I think the moderates, the suburban people, and the so-called educated, whatever you want to call them, those people will line up and say, you know what, let's back Trump, at least let's back his candidates, and he's going to hold on to to both House and Senate. If we don't get this information out there, especially with all this stuff going on right now with the judicial coups, where they just block the tariffs, where it's making the situation economically a little unstable, where you have the migrant situation consistently in the mainstream media, we can lose some House seats. And then it makes the job of enacting this MAGA agenda a lot more difficult. So this has to get out there. A lot of these other files have to get out there. And these activist judges have to be subpoenaed. That goes back to what I said about Congress doing their job.
That's right.
And impeached.
And they have the power to do that. Congress has the power
exactly
about these judges, according to the Judicial Act of 1801 and 1802. They have that power. It's just that they don't have the cojones or the balls, as we say.
Do they not have the cojones, or does somebody have something on them in the deep state that stops them from doing it? That's what I always ask.
Well, that's the thing, Sean and George. It's, what are these people going to DC for? If you're not going to go and reflect the will of your constituents or the will of the people, just get out of it. Either term limits or just get out. Stop wasting your time. Stop wasting your constituents' time, because most people, they elect their members of Congress to provide security for them, to increase the money in their pocketbooks. And when it comes to very, very important public interest cases like we're discussing here, to do their job and to hold people accountable that did bad against the American people and our way of life and our republic. If you're not going to do that, and people aren't going to be held accountable, then there's no real point in having so-called MAGA Mike as Speaker of the House. He should be replaced with somebody who's willing to do the job. I think at the end of the day, with enough pressure from President Trump, these people will end up doing the job. I think that they're going to probably subpoena these judges, allow them to testify publicly. If they find themselves in some sort of contradiction, or if they're doing something illegal, then impeach them. And then President Trump could just roll out this agenda without any more obstruction. But that's really what's going on. And like you said, George, I think Congress has a big job to do here, and they're not doing it so far. And we don't have too much time before the midterms.
Yep. We have to get, I tell everybody, you got to get on the phone, called, and especially going to these, especially the rallies and what we do with supporting the J6s and stuff, that it's just that the people, a lot of people think that because Trump won, it's over, and people don't understand this battle's got to go on. And
it's only just beginning, George.
The MAGA movement is so powerful and big that the GOP is petrified of it. And so is the Republican Party, the rhinos and stuff. And they know, and this time, I don't think the MAGA is going to stand back this time. We're not going to be defensive anymore. We're going to be offensive. And we're going to get into these people's faces, because we're not going to take this shit. We're not going to go through this again.
I really hate to do this, but I got to wind this down, because George has already stayed longer than what he said he would. And we only got a couple minutes left before 10. But
you better come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, George, you got to come back. Papa D, you got to come back. Always want to say Papa D. And it's an honor to be on the same screen with you, my friend. And thank you for everything you endured. And I apologize that our deep state put you through it. But you know what? We love you, man.
Yeah.
And thank you very, very much for coming on with us and everything. It was a really, really enlightening for a lot of people. And we really would like you to come back. And if you could you stay the whole hour maybe?
Absolutely.
And you can make your wife come in too once in a while.
I knew George was going to say that.
Hey, we'll make it happen for you three. We'll make it happen.
I want everybody in the chat, please buy that book. That book is phenomenal.
That's a great book.
It has information on it. Yeah, it has information on it that's unbelievable. Plus, he signed it for me.
Oh, I got to get a signed one now. That's what I got to get.
Well, thank you.
And say hello to Simona for me. Give her a big hug, all right?
Well, all right, brother. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Papa D. Have a good day, man.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Boy, that was really
great
that was
guest.
good.
Oh, he's awesome. He's
Yeah.
awesome.
Hey. I got friends.
George, yeah, you know a couple people. George knows a couple people.
What we got friends too, don't we, Sean? But it might just be like the donut guy.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody in the chat enjoyed them. I mean, the guys got so much
I was trying to
information.
read as much as I could.
They have so much information.
Well, you gave away my trivia question, George. Now I got to ask the other one.
Yeah, ask the other one because he
I
brought
know.
it up.
Well, I know. And then you gave me
What was the
answer.
trivia question? Let's. Why don't you
About
ask it?
Crossfire
Wait a minute.
Hurricane and George
Oh.
did it.
I was ask you, see if everybody was paying attention. That's all. It's like a good.
Well, he brought it up, and that's what I said. That rate, and I always said that, and he brought it up. You know, he said what I said a long time ago. I said the rate on Mar-a-Lago was about those hurricane papers, and they were terrified.
Yeah, that's what they wanted. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
All right, you guys, if you like the show, give us the thumbs up so you're endorsing it, please, everybody, so that we could go up to the top.
Yeah,
Maybe
come on,
we'll
we need
go
thumbs
watch.
up with Papa D.
Yeah, you better. All right, I'm going to do the
We need
trivia
thumbs up
question
with Papa
because we're
D.
getting real quick here. So this ties into Papadopoulos. Which Trump national security advisor pled guilty to lying to the FBI about conversations with the Russian ambassador? And I will read it again. Which Trump national security advisor pled guilty to lying to the FBI about conversations with the Russian ambassador?
See.
He just texted me, George.
Well, now that I got Papadopoulos'
Deb in
email.
Texas said Flynn with a question mark, so I don't know if that's really an answer, Deb.
Deb 54.
Yeah, well, she said Flynn with a question mark, so is that really an answer? I don't know. Dr. Kurt Schlegg, General Flynn. American Mark Flynn. Mark, I was hoping for a more better answer than that than you. Mona May Flynn. TSM Flynn. Lisa Arquette Flynn. USN Air Flynn. Deb Texas said no. George Papa D. Angels Flynn. Denise Flynn. And Lady Bird Flynn. I guess we got to be done reading them. Oh, now Deb Texas went back to Flynn. And I guess that's Florida for Trump Flynn.
Okay, everybody.
My friend just texted me and said Flynn gave a false confession.
Yeah. Well, we're going to close it out because everybody's got the same answer. Tomorrow we got Frank coming on and Sodak Patriots coming on tomorrow morning. The first 10 minutes. And she sent me some files of, oh, my birds are horrible. Some files of the honor flight. So she's going to talk about that. We got Frank. We'll have Trump truce and losing your shit and George's rants. And then I got a surprise for tomorrow for everybody to run. And what else we got going tomorrow? Did I forget something?
No, I don't know. It's some baby pictures. We got George's baby pictures. We're gonna post.
Yeah, George is a baby on a motorcycle, except bare ass, no diaper. You know, that would be pretty fun. But anyway, so that's what we got going on tomorrow. So it'll be a full hour of Frisky Friday tomorrow. No kidding. It'll be jam packed with a bunch of stuff tomorrow. So make sure you guys are watching tomorrow.
Yeah, don't forget to check the Checo. Check. He said, George just texted me and he says anytime. So
awesome. Great. Hit that. And also, didn't Papadopoulos text you and say that
thumbs up?
They better hit the chat like.
The rest he ain't coming back.
Yeah. We have to beat 65 from when Red was on, or he won't come back. I don't know. You text him. I got his phone number. I'll text him too and beg him to come back. I'll just say, please come back, even if they don't hit the like button.
I don't know. Yeah, you got to change your voice a little bit because it's too squeaky for a Greek guy. And he's married to an Italian wife.
I don't have a squeaky voice.
No, but you got to do. when the Italian people talk, and
I know what they
Italian,
talk like. Yeah.
No, but they talk. They sing when they speak.
They sing when they speak.
You're giving me achita, George.
You just did it. See, you're saying.
You're giving me achita.
You sang on it. You
Ajita.
sang on it. Ajita.
I know.
The way you
Right.
done the bang.
Sodak's in the chat. We're seeing you tomorrow, Sodak. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
That's
All
what we
right. Well, we're gonna close out, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for Frisky Friday. Then. You
All
say?
right, Frisky who?
Frisky Friday.
Oh, really?
Frisky
Where the hell
Friday.
What's the matter with you? Frisky Friday. All right. See you guys all tomorrow.
It's the way you do your hair, just like I got stunned.
Yeah. I'm gonna start. The only thing I can sing in Italian is I can order white wine in Italian, and I could sing that.
Oh,
Oh
really?
boy.
Yeah.
Did you have a little
Uno
sip before you
mezzo
started
vino
the show
di
this morning?
Bianca. Huh?
Did you-
We were
did you
drinking,
start-
George.
What?
We
I
were
think
drinking
I know. I
coffee.
can tell.
for coffee from Wendy's.
No,
Oh,
I-
what's that? Uno mezzolitro vino da Bianca.
Very nice. See, they see. But it's what I'm saying. When you say words in Italian, when Italians speak, they sing when they talk.
Well,
That's
I
what
know
I'm
one
saying.
word that I can't sing though.
But
Bavancula?
yeah, fangula. That's I know what you're saying.
You know,
You can't even say that right.
I can make I know how to do the gesture though. So
I know. Yeah. No, it's not. That's wrong. It's
no,
this one
I
here.
know that's this one, but I'm just doing this at you. So. All right.
See that?
See
You
you
learn
guys.
sign language and other. You
Yeah.
learn,
We
and
learn
all
how to
kinds of
spell
stuff on this
balls.
show.
BAWLS. We know how to spell balls.
You learn
We're
all
just
kinds
an
of
very
educational
good-
program.
I know.
Very educational.
We're gonna have to do. We have to do a what is that? A definition of words. How words are being used on Rumble on the Wake
Yeah.
Up Patriots. You
The
know,
Wake
like
Up
balls.
Patriots.
Spell, say what it really
Oh.
means.
Yeah, well, everybody will get a surprise tomorrow with balls.
A Wake Up Patriots thesaurus.
Okay, hit the like button, guys. We're really going this time. No
Yeah,
kidding.
we're going.
Yeah, appreciate you. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye bye.